Hey guys, the old Tacoma hit 200,000 miles. I know that's not a big deal, but we're in New York, so I gotta show you this, man. It's not kilometers, it's miles. Yep, regular old mule donkey hoop stomping miles, 200,000 of them. 22 years right here in the saltwater in upstate New York, as far as I can tell. I would assume it wasn't love. Somebody wrote Ford on the owner's manual, probably trying to make it into something it ain't. So it's probably a pretty good assumption that if you cross out Toyota and write Ford onto your owner's manual, that you're not too overjoyed about the truck. But I own this for 3 years now. I bought it out of my friend's yard. I'd assume it was going to the scrappers. Maybe not, maybe almost. He didn't say, and I don't know for sure. So one of the first things we did when we got her was we thrashed her around in the field like a ranted mule. I think those are factory wheels. They were really nasty, really crap. So I sanded, wire wheeled those. Actually, the first thing I did is I bought a piece of pipe, and I decided to jack together an exhaust that would work. That's that pipe right there. I even ground the welds back, so you know I really cared. I thought about going over the frame like a normal person would, and then I'm like, well, you know, there'll be a ton more bends. It'll be a real pain to make, so just scratch it. We'll just go underneath. This is right in line with the spring hanger. The whole thing's on a slope, so if you start up there, it'll climb over it, whatever. So far, I haven't even gotten a dent in the exhaust, really. Looks ugly. Wasn't really supposed to be permanent, but it's still there because it didn't die yet. The only thing that happened is, so that hanger there is an actual hanger. It was supposed to have a rubber slug in the middle and probably some other bits, but that's hard mounted. Well, semi, kind of like, I don't know. The other one's got a piece of rubber belt, like a 3/4 inch piece of belt, 1 inch wide and a couple inches long. It kind of hangs by that. So the only time it rattles is when the baffle's loose inside. And the only time the baffle comes loose inside is when I do big fat backfires that push big fat fireballs out, and then it expands, swells the muffler up, and then the baffle starts rattling. So that was the first thing we did. The second thing we did is so my friend I bought this from had a '01 Dodge, I think it was an '01 Dodge, with a 360 that he swapped. It was his first truck, had big mud tires on it, and he drove it to school. And this was a back rack off of it, and I bought the back half of it after the transfer case exploded, and he decided to junk the truck. So if I had the back rack and the back half of that truck for a while, and then I took the bed off, sold the bed, made a flat bed, and kept the rack. And when I put this truck together, it was like, well, this is another junk good times truck, and in memory of all the fun we had with the Dodge, I'll stick that up there. So I went to the steel shop, got sheets of steel, angle iron, smaller angle iron, and then built this. Built the back of the lower panels out of extras from this. Built the bumpers out of extras from this. So basically, I folded the corners of this bumper over the edge of this bed. So the bed made the bumper. The bed gave birth to the bumper. So what else happened? I think we got some tires on it. I had BFG, something a little less aggressive than this, that I think I paid a little bit more for, and they sucked. They were the worst tires ever. I just wanted something efficient to get to work with, something that would get the fuel mileage of my car, something tall, good ratio for highway running and such. So that was that. I think the bed was the first mod we did. The bed that was on here was some old plywood 2x4s and couple of 55-gallon drums for fenders. It was pretty ugly. So when we did the tires, we painted the wheels. Let's see. So I wired up the taillights with a trailer taillight converter. Since the wiring of this whole thing was shot, I cut it off behind the cab. Wired everything myself. Over the last 3 years, I went through three or four taillight converters because they just don't stand the cycle times of the LEDs, I guess, or the turn signals in general. So last fall, I took the bumper off. I put these diamond plates on there. That was just some scrap that I got from the neighbors. And put recovery points on it. And painted it. So that was that. So last fall is when I put in so these orange ones are hooked directly to the truck harness. And then these guys do brake, tail, and turn. So in the event that the stupid, fails, I'll still have these orange ones. So if I need to drive to work another month or two to make some money to fix it, then I can do that. So I just rewired all this fall. These guys here are my reverse lights. I changed the license plate light. I changed the trailer plug. Both of these trailer plugs I had all in one before. Last fall, I also added a brake controller to this, just to be able to move my possessions over here to this place. So that's kind of the story of that. We were driving around all the lakes at the beginning of the pandemic, all the lockdowns and stuff. We didn't have church and whatnot, so we were driving around the lakes, going to visit the parks because nobody else was there at the time. You could get in and out pretty well. And I stopped at a stop sign, and my wife was looking at her Instagram or something, and she ran right in the back of me, so caved the bumper right in. This little step that I have that caved that in. So I built these little dog leg things out of angle iron. After that, straighten it out, angle iron it up. So that was one thing that happened. I guess I should show you my step. This is my step, made out of some square tube, and then this is wire from the grill off of one of those tank top plate heater things. And then I added pins up there so I can just put my hitches back here and don't need to carry them in the cab. Really could hit me in the head in an accident. One of the first things we did before even the bed was try and spray foam these guys shut and then go Bondo over top. I just spray foam some of it this fall just for funsies. So one of the other things we did is I thought this was the turn signal, and there was some issue with the lower factory lights in the factory bumper, so I just jacked it together. Now this is the turn signal, and I don't have a marker. These are my markers, but according to government regulations, you should have a visible side marker. So most people have their turn signals down here and they have their corner markers up in the factory thing, but I didn't know any better and I messed with it and changed it. So the next mod, I guess, was to put the stack on. The stack was on the farm where we lived, and it was just a rusty old nasty truck stack, and it was higher than a kite, man. It was a good 8 inches taller than this. I mean, I just needed to be higher than the top of the back rack, preferably where you can see the tip at least poke above. One of the other mods we did was get those wind deflector things. It's hard to even know what to call them when you order them on eBay and whatnot. So I guess it's a confusing thing because this never had, it's got the AC pump, the belt was missing. So I knew that one of the first things I needed to do was get cold air in here in the rain, driving in the rain and so forth. So, what else happened? I know we did the tow mirrors. These mirrors were a problem ever since day one. So, actually, I think I got the bumper first. So, what happened was I was messing around on the farm, and I fired it up one day, came out of the shop or wherever I was. It was Sunday, we're going to load up and go fishing somewhere. I was broke. I didn't have hardly enough gas money to drive to town to go fishing or anything like that, so definitely not enough cash for a fishing license. So what happened is I came out of the garage there and gave her the gun and tried to turn the corner around the other. There's a bunch of farm buildings there. There's a chicken barn with a fuel tank and the other big farm shop, and I tried to go in between and chicken out, slammed on the brakes, slid right into the big farm diesel fuel tank, caved the whole corner of the truck in. Caved this whole corner in, ruined the radiator core support, wrecked the bumper. The bumper was way over here somewhere. The headlight and the marker light were pushed in behind the grill, and it was absolutely a mess, man. I was so sick. So I'm like, all right, well, guess we got to go fix it now. So we turned around, drove it in the shop, got my big ratchet straps hooked to the wall, and then just pulled everything over, kept pulling stuff over, and it was tearing, just ripping, just everything just ripped right apart. It was razor sharp, thin, rusted out core support. And so I did order core support. I intended to get it all fixed, but I did manage to pull it all far enough over to where I could take roofing screws and just screw the light buckets back in. And last winter I had tried to line the lights. Well, part of the reason I did that is because the front end sunk down because the shocks were shot because of all the load from the bumper, and the shocks were sick. The shocks were cheap non-OEM stuff, and just blah. So after that, I went straight out. Actually, I just cobbed the factory bumper back on, just let it hang there. I don't even think I had the little chrome end caps on it anymore. I just basically, there's a bracket toward the middle. There's like a little tin bracket here and here. So I bent those back and just hung the bumper on it, drove to Rochester. And an awesome dude up there, older black gentleman, he came straight off the airplane from Miami, covered in spackle plaster from doing drywall or painting. I was very impressed and surprised. I'm not a city guy. I don't know anything about the city, but being able to go there and see another hardworking Christian person that believed in bringing value to the world, it's just very refreshing and awesome. So we had a good talk, at each other on Facebook, and got this sucker brought home. He gave me a very, very sweet deal on it, and I appreciate it very, very much. I had no idea what the bumper went on. I don't think he could tell me. I'm not sure why he even picked this bumper. But it actually might bolt directly on a 4Runner. But it doesn't bolt onto this directly. I had to make my own brackets. I guess I could show you too. So it bolts on a flat plate. I think there's 4 bolts. And then I made a little bit of a underneath, and then a little leg that goes to the big frame, kind of like your main frame that the suspension hangs off of. So this is pretty stout. Last winter I killed a deer with it coming up the road. So other than that, I haven't really hit much. I'd run over trees and whatnot and jacked it up by the bottom bar and stuff. But so I came home, got the bumper painted with chassis saver and mounted up. I've always meant to cut this bar off, cut it off here, move it back here, and then have the big one higher, then this little one lower. It's over and down. If you watch 4-wheel drive 24/7, Shawano's Land Cruiser 80 series basically is what the bar would look like once I'm done, and it would come out and protect the corner, which it doesn't. I don't really like it. Well, I'm very happy and very fortunate to have it. So, and it works well, that's why it's not gotten changed. So, these are fog lights with a ring around. I've had a couple different sets. I've had them in and out. I've fixed them. They've come and gone. Just a fight. I always seem to buy the cheaper ones on eBay, and there's always a fight to keep them going. And I think it's time to put a little bit more effort into it. So the yellow fogs that the Forerunners got, I'll probably put a set of those in there. Those seem to do very well. So sometime after that, my friend needed $20, so he bought me the light bar on top for $20, and that's been part of the truck for a while, a couple years, year and a half, 2 maybe, and that's done very well. So my friend that sold me this finally, kept after me and encouraged me to put the winch in. So I did finally get the winch in. I had to buy an eBay controller, and for which this is the antenna. This guy right here, little blue wire. The roller fair lead I built out of scrap steel bolts, and I think the 2 big rollers were scrap. Maybe I had to go buy those too, but that's all homemade. That fair lead made out of part of the winch cradle, so I was able to just bolt the winch right in there. I had to do a little bit of cutting. Should have done a little bit more cutting to get it fit in there, but man, it's very discouraging to do all the work, get this painted just barely dry enough to touch and get it on here, and then I'd take it off and cut that again. So anymore, I think we probably do it with the plasma cutter. So last fall I painted the rear bumper and the front bumper and the grill, inside of the grill. They used to be chrome. Anyway, now it's flat black. So I love the way it looks. The only thing is, so last fall, let's try and go in order here. So the next thing we did, I think, was these puppies right here. So they kind of fit in there, but not quite. So basically what I did is I drew it all the way through and just used long bolts. They're not as sturdy as they could be, and the mirror doesn't really fit. You could probably take a heat gun or silicone, or take a heat gun and fold some of the plastic down. I'm not sure. So what you should do, though, is you should make an adapter plate. It uses basically the same pattern, but the Chevy mirrors just spread apart. Well, here's the reason I wanted these. So the Australian trucks, or you could probably buy it in the US too, it's called Clearview tow mirror. They're identical to these. They are absolutely identical. So I don't know what Clearview did, if they just stole Chevy's design and just did a different base for different models of trucks. I know the bad stigma that goes with the Dodge tow mirrors, even though they supposedly do fit on these trucks. So I wanted the Australian, kind of build an Australian looking truck. So that would be going with this, keeping it, 2-inch lift and 31s, 33-inch tires, that range. I cannot go taller than this. The weight of the truck is more than the engine can handle with the size of tires it's got, even though it's geared really low. So we're as big as we can go. So the tow mirrors, I could have done a better job mounting them. They don't look perfect. This truck's not perfect. So very, very happy with them. Extremely happy. I guess I could show you one other thing. So I came out from my friend Christopher one day, and somebody went and shot right into here with a BB gun. So I went around and I checked all the other stuff, just to make sure that nothing else had holes in it. Last winter we did a windshield. There was a chip above the drivers there that after a couple years it just splintered everywhere. So I think about the time I did the bumper, maybe the winch, I'm not sure. I blew a CV shaft out finally. And that day I was feeling good. And it was right around the time I learned to whistle and diesel. I came dancing out with my brand new shaft. And in a moment of pure ignorance, childlike ignorance and disregard for sense, I went and hit the truck with a CV and put a nice dent in it. So my solution is to drill an even bigger hole and then boom, run a snorkel. So my friends at Lamphier's Garage bent this 3-inch exhaust for me. I had a snorkel head in the shop somewhere and it disappeared, so I ordered another one. So actually I ran around with just a 45-degree boot on it for a little while. My cousins would like to reach out and hold it shut and stall the truck. So this bracket used to be just one width of steel, so the edge of the bracket was here. And then it was basically impossible to get these screws in. So I added some wings on it and put some silicone under it and put it down, hopefully to cushion it. I used the Honda Bond stuff, so of course it leaked out. Leaked out a little bit. I wiped it off again. So this is a 45-degree. It goes in and is joined to another 45 that then comes forward. And then there's a 90 on the side of the airbox where the plastic adapter thing that goes into the fender to pick the air up. So you unplug whatever's on the airbox and then put a 90 on it and then run it up. 245 joined together with a short piece of exhaust pipe and a super glue. So I super glued it up, shoved it together really quick. It was a nice hot day and I almost didn't get it together. So it doesn't appear to be cutting it. So that's very good. This truck from day one has always taken drinks of water and drinks of dirt right out of that fender weld. Of course, the inner fender is gone, long gone. It's all trashed and rusted out. Part of the fender liners are gone because of they get caught in the tire because the front end's all smashed down from the weight of the bumper there. So this fall I finally did order 6-cylinder shocks, 6-cylinder struts from Parts Plus, and they are completely unsatisfactory. They are better than I ordered 6-cylinder shocks from eBay from Detroit Axle, which is sort of a favorite parts supplier of mine. But they came and they were the 12 coil springs. So possibly you could put 2001 4Runner struts in here, which I was going to do. I was at the junkyard and tried to get them out once, and there's just no way you're going to get them out without a settling set. So that was also the day we pulled the steering rack. Last fall we rebuilt the whole front end on this truck. Japanese bushings from Rock Auto, a bunch of stuff from Rock Auto. I rebuilt the steering rack and I put it in here and fired the truck up, and it squirted oil everywhere. So I laid it aside, took my T100 one out, and that was different. Two-wheel drive T100, so that was different. I went to the junkyard and got that 2001 4Runner steering on a rainy day in a very sketchy way. A bunch of rims and stuff stacked under it. We worked and we finally got it out. It's all rusted and can take any settling set and stuff out. It's very, very, very discouraging day, man. But we got it out. Put it in here. It's pretty shot, but it seems to do all right. I got a new pump up front, and I think we're running ATF for oil. It's AT. I'm not sure anymore. It might be power steering fluid too. So, after the snorkel and the tow mirrors, I haven't done too much on it. Probably windshield, wiper blades, I had a D2 gauge, this guy right here, little gauge pod thingy, running a air to fuel ratio sensor. So one of the problems I had the last time I inspected this, I had a bad ground wire on the rear oxygen sensor. So with my app, I was able to read the voltages, and I noticed there was no voltage. So I got that fixed. That way, ran a whole new wire all the way up to the engine harness, or the ECU harness. So which is under the it's in there behind the glove box somewhere. So other than this truck's had a rear end going out for a whole year now. It's not gone out yet. I've just been changing the oil in it regularly. I blew a 1 CV shaft on it. I beat the ever-living snot out of the transmission, and it still lives. So one of the first things we did with this after we got it on the road is we took it mud bogging in a drainage ditch. It's one of the videos on my channel. And in that video, you can hear the motor cut a couple times because it's drinking water out of the wheel well. So that was a long motivation, in finally getting the snorkel done. So, what else was there? This had a timing chain slap. I switched over to synthetic oil and then somehow fixed it, which I greatly appreciate. You still hear a little bit of it if it's 100 degrees out and it's sitting there idling. It'll start slap, 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 slap. But notwithstanding that, I figured out I can go right through the red line up to 50, I think it's 5,800 RPM. I can go up through the red line if I hold it in second gear. Go up to 75 miles an hour. So I raced a couple Dodge Dually trucks with it on the road, and it's pretty fun watching them get pissed once they see the little taco truck go buzzing by. I can get them up to 70, and then that diesel torque kicks in and they're gone. So this summer I've run it on a welding project all summer. Almost all summer. I think I had to pull this off the road. For whatever reason, we made these sides. These sides were made to haul mulch, because we want to make a mulch garden. And then there's a backboard as well. The vise came in play when we were doing welding. Same with the spare tire. I hit an object on Route 14 one night, blew out a tire. Luckily, I pulled over, and about that time it hit the rim. I had a janky spare, a Chevy Blazer wheel. Probably that wheel right there. And then I ended up taking a hole saw and cutting the center out so it fits on the Toyota hub. Because we were basically clamping the Chevy wheel onto the side of the Toyota without it being on the actual flange. So torquing all the wheel nuts made it stay pretty flat. But that means the drum brake was just hanging in midair and binding and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. So I didn't know that. I guess God watched over us. Otherwise, I'd be dead many, many times over. I guess I could show you the interior. This floor here has got a big hole in it. So this fall, I just poured oil over it and threw floor mats in. That side over there has got a piece of snowmobile tunnel, sheet aluminum for a floor, and then a piece of stovepipe screwed into the wheel arch to fit that. So I don't really know what else. My winch controllers are up there on the sun visor. The brake thingamabobber is zip tied to the e-brake handle that never worked, never will work. And the other day when I did the wheel well patch, I guess we could go over there. That's pretty cool. I love that. I just patched the wheel well, and in doing so, I apparently was concentrating only on the outside and ran a couple screws and stuff. Even put some caulk in there, man. That's quality right there. So I put some screws up through, no, actually, well, I screwed it in with roofing screws, just like this, and this. Screwed it in with roofing screws, and then drilled pop rivets. So it's all pop riveted in now. because I pulled the screws back out, except for that one. There might be a couple more. Anyway, Toyota factory uses screws. What can I say? So I pop riveted everything, but I've been in and out of there with drill bits and whatnot, and so that right there is, this fender here caved right in. So part of the cave-in was to do with the, hitting the fuel tank. So I made a battery box and gave it some legs, and then just screwed it to the frame horns up front. So the battery sucker sits right up against the hood now, but at least it's in a battery box that won't fall down and hit the tire. So I guess we should talk about what are the future plans for this truck. By now this truck was supposed to be at the Crushers. It was long supposed to be at the Crushers. I was going to ride it one winter, so now we're in 3 years. So that's possibly up to 9 times longer than it was going to keep it. The cab mounts are pretty well rusted right off. The floor's shot, but I keep fixing. Right now it can't idle right. There's something wrong with the IAC valve or the TPS. Something in the throttle body is not happy. So we got to fix that. The power windows all quit working, so I think I screwed a screw into the body harness inside. That's why it's in here now. We'll probably have this for our daily vehicle. Me and the wife got a little uppity, and sometimes I can get a little cocky, and just to prove a point, I went and pressure washed everything. Pressure washed everything inside the cab. Well, not the seat upholstery, but the dash, under the dash, in the dash, above the dash, windshield, door cards. Just sprayed her, man. Sprayed her everywhere. So now my taillights are on all the time. So that's one thing we need to fix. I don't think the brake lights work. So the truck's been sitting outside for a while. So late this fall, I washed the truck, pressure washed the bottom and underside, parked it because I needed to do undercoating. So I undercoated the car, which we sold, undercoated the 4Runner, which is out there. Sorry. And then I didn't get around to undercoating this, so it sat outside for a while, and then it started snowing, so it parked it in here out of the snow, and then finally got around to it. Finally got around to it the other week and undercoated this whole thing. So, shoot, I forgot where I was going with that. But now it's undercoated. Boy, I don't know what I was gonna say next. Undercoated it, fixed the tire. One was leaking on the bead, and then I punched a hole in it with a pry bar trying to get it off because I didn't have anything to drive. So we got to get underneath the dash there and see if the brake pedal switch is shot, and then this should be quasi legal, I guess. I was gonna say, so I've been thinking about this really long and hard, and why these old junkers like this have a sort of a magic to them. And I've decided that growing up as a teenager, I really had a struggle with depression. I almost committed suicide at age 14 or so. Life was really painful and abusive, and I just couldn't see the end in sight, and I got discouraged. I didn't want to try anymore. So, and I still sometimes feel that squeeze of depression happen, and coming out to this truck, taking it for a drive, I can feel I'm in good company, because this truck has no reason to exist. It has no reason to even be here. None. It's served its purpose. It's lived its 10 years or whatever. It's lived out the 10 years that a truck does its lifetime, earning its keep and then being paid for. It's been here twice as long as it needed to. This truck is 22 years old, and it's been in New York State the whole time. It's got no reason to exist, but it still does. It fires up every day, and it wants to keep on going, keep on working, keep on doing, even though it doesn't have to. So that's kind of why I feel inspired being around something like this. I've worked on it with my own hands. I've taken it from nothing. With a little work, a little effort, I built it into something that people enjoy seeing. And it's a form of art and creativity and expression that is very spiritual in a way and very freeing, and it's incredible. This truck has helped me grow and become a better person. And I've helped this truck grow and become a better person. And every time I go ride in it, it's a magical experience. It's exciting. It's exciting and awesome. And it's not only I've often kind of had this joke in my head where it's exciting because you could die at any minute. Sketchy old truck. I'm sure the airbags don't work. And maybe the seatbelts do. And it could drop a lower ball joint and lose a wheel at any moment. So maybe half the excitement is just the adrenaline rush from knowing you could die at any given second. Or be rear-ended by a Prius going 32 miles an hour. But this truck has done well. It's made me thousands and thousands of dollars running back and forth, fixing and selling ATVs, motorbikes, go-karts, and so forth. It's been cheap to run up to the city and deliver and pick up stuff, so it's helped me clinch a couple sales. It's helped out my friends, given us some good times. I've mud bogged this. I've drowned it. I've jumped it. It's been broken in half, blown CB, and it just won't quit. So I love this truck, and it's just surprising to me, that I'm not an American truck guy. Otherwise, I'd probably be a Dodge guy or Ford guy. I'm not sure. Probably Ford. But this little truck does well. It does what it needs to do. It's the right size for me. It gets great fuel mileage. And it just won't quit. It does way more than you would expect it to. The heaviest load I've carried with this was 3,000 pounds. The fastest speed I've hit with this is, I think it was 84 miles an hour or something. I had it on a flat road once with the pedal all the way to the floor for 10 minutes. And I finally got tired and let off because it just wouldn't do anything but shift up and down. I think it hit 85 and that was all it could do. It's not a speed demon, but it's funny when I leave third-gen Dodges behind because they don't have a lot of power to begin with. They were pretty neutered in those days. So guys, I am gonna tap out. There's so much about this truck to talk about. I guess one of the other things I just remembered is the lower leaf spring is arched downwards on these. And I had a lot of trouble hauling payload with it. I'd have a Cub Cadet 600-800 pounds on the back and the whole truck would walk side to side. And so I flipped the leaf. I thought it was in upside down. So I'm like, wait, that's in upside down. I just flipped it. So that made the truck ride nice and stiff like a truck should. And it's increased the payload where I was able to haul 3,000 pounds with it. Somehow the truck didn't break in half again. So yeah, man. That's really about it. Fire extinguisher is for carrying acetylene, oxyacetylene sets. I don't know, man. I guess the next truck I want to build is a GM 6.5 liter powered T100 with Land Cruiser axles and a big, I don't even know what you'd call it. Probably leaf springs in the rear, coilovers in the front. Something like that. That'd be an awesome project. I love welding and fab work. The other things we got to do is either stick this bumper on the 4Runner or build the 4Runner bumper like this. And then, well, maybe we'll sell this and the 4Runner can be mine and my wife will have a Highlander with third row. I'm not sure. She wants a minivan. Anyway, guys, that I think is it. I've done, just looking down here, I've done a diff breather. It comes up to this little fuel filter. I'm not sure. I can't remember exactly if I had water in the diff or not, but I had a leaking diff. I had a axle bearing go out on the right side. I think it was the right side. And I kept pouring oil into it until I had time to fix it. So I got a new diff cover, took the axle out, rebuilt all the Toyota seals, Toyota bearings, all Toyota stuff in it. That way the chassis of the truck is in good shape. The lower ball joints are the cheapest thing that Rock Auto had. So they were Japanese, I think. No, actually, they were from Detroit Axle. There was two different ones, and I don't remember why I changed. I guess I noticed it was bad and I changed it somehow before it killed me. I am probably a God moment. Intervening from the chaos. I was going to say this fall when I was welding dumpsters, I dropped a dumpster on the front right corner. So I took a pry bar. It broke the corner marker, so I took it out, took a pry bar, pushed it all back out. I'm like, yep, that looks good enough. Send it. Yeah, I thought that slush was a mark from the dumpster, but hey, she's mint, boys. She keeps sending her till she don't send no more. Alrighty, I think that is it, guys. Thanks for watching. I'm sorry this is so long. I'm probably edited it down some. But this is the truck that started it all, and I'm kind of falling in love with this platform. I think it's so good in so many ways, and I think if this motor had 300 horsepower, which it can do easily, if you look up LC Engineering and some of the stuff they've done, they built some crazy 3RZ motors. They're iron block, they're closed deck, they're chain driven, camshaft, dual overhead cams. They're just the stoutest of the stout. There's nothing in these motors that wants to quit. And the same goes for the 5DZ. So this Toyota, this Toyota here can make almost the power of a 2JZ, I think. And this transmission supposedly will hold 600 horsepower. In one of the episodes on Skid Factory, Al mentioned that they were changing one of their friends' drag cars over to GM style transmission from the A340 trans, and that A340 held 600 horse or 600 horse plus for a number of years, being beat on the track. So this combination should be able to make 300 horsepower fairly easy. And if we could get the weight down to 3,000 pounds, a truck like this should be able to drag race almost any diesel drag truck, you know, in the New York, PA, Vermont, Mass, the tri-state area, or whatever, you know. Because we don't have really powerful trucks out here. 600-700 horse maybe is a very powerful truck for this area, So I might be able to do very well, and it'd be pretty funny to beat guys on the drag strip. So that's something to do in the future. We may turbo this. I have a turbo and a blow-off valve for it. I can fab the manifolds with steam pipe and whatnot. So it's kind of a race to the finish, though, because this truck is on its, you know, it's had one of my favorite YouTube channels over the years. So this truck's had a hard life, and it's kind of a race, you know, having the financial, for the finances and the opportunity to have to cross paths at the same time in order for it to happen. It'd be cool to have, they supposedly make 7 to 10 PSI of stock ECU. They'll handle that, and they'll make up to 230 horsepower to the rear wheels. So that's a big power gain for the stock, for you know, for that amount of PSI. That's a pretty good hit. So that would bring this truck from being slow to being pretty peppy, actually. So I know the Toyota didn't high power their stuff as much as like the domestic ones did, but um, I'll take the reliability and the fuel economy any day, because I need to work. I need to get things done. I need to do so in a timely and efficient manner. Can't have my truck break down all the time. Alrighty, guys. Thanks for watching. Yeah, I love driving this truck. Just magical to hear it fire off and run. Hear it idle. Not anymore, because the throttle body or whatever up there is messed up. But hear it run, hear it downshift, upshift, go through the gears. I absolutely love the way the A340 shifts. I love the way the Toyota ECT power works. It's just a different ride, man. Going from this to a big 3/4 ton GM, there is just no comparison. With this suspension setup, and it's set up right, it rides very nimble and firm. Nice firm ride, firm steering, firm cornering. Even with the ATV with the springs flipped, it's a nice firm little truck. The seat's not soft. The seat is comfortable, has adequate cushioning, and is adequate comfort as far as seating. It's not a big plushy soft truck. It's a little hard-working truck. You can feel it'll take you anywhere that you point it. Yep, that's it. Alrighty, guys. Thanks for watching. See you later. Good night.